Okay, picture this. You're standing at the bottom of a huge cliff, like 3,000 feet of sheer rock, and you've only got climbing shoes, no ropes. Or maybe think about a journalist setting off, alone, to race around the world against a fictional clock. These sound almost unbelievable, right? But there's a word that ties these kinds of amazing feats together. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into that word, intrepid. Hey, it seems simple enough, but intrepid actually has layers of meaning, a pretty cool history, and it's described some seriously remarkable people over the years. So our mission for you today is to unpack what intrepid really signifies, look at where it came from, and then jump into some incredible real-life examples from history right up to now. We want you to walk away really getting this word. So let's start there. When we say intrepid, what's the absolute core of it? What makes it different?
Well, like you said, people often jump straight to brave.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's definitely part of it. But intrepid has this specific edge. The formal definition talks about resolute fearlessness, fortitude, and endurance.
Mm-hmm.
So the key thing there is fearlessness. It's not just about facing danger, it's facing it, well, without fear, with this steady, unwavering courage.
Ah, okay. So it's almost like fear isn't even in the equation. Not just pushing past fear, but maybe not feeling it in the same way. That's a subtle but really powerful difference. And where did this word actually come from?
Right, yeah, that ties right into its origins. It's Latin, from intrepidus. And if you break that down, you've got in meaning not, and trepidus, which means alarmed or afraid.
Yeah.
So quite literally just means not fearful.
Not fearful. Huh.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that the word trepid, meaning fearful, actually exists in English too, and it came first. Intrepid only showed up around 1680. But we barely use trepid today. It's like we latched onto the positive, the fearless aspect.
That is fascinating. Like the language itself preferred the bolder version. So besides fearless, what other words kind of capture that same vibe? And how do we actually use intrepid day to day? Is it always so serious?
You hear synonyms like dauntless, valiant, maybe adventurous, heroic. It often does pop up in more formal writing, describing explorers or historical figures. But it can be used more playfully, too. You might hear someone joke about, like, the intrepid couch surfer trying to marathon every sci-fi show ever made.
Okay, I feel slightly called out by the couch surfer example, maybe. But yeah, that shows its range from, serious expeditions to binge watching. Is there an easy way for us, for you listening, to kind of lock in the meaning, a memory tip?
Yeah, a good way is to think of it as the complete opposite of timid. Timid versus intrepid. Or maybe picture an explorer facing a trap, like intrepid, but they just keep going, totally unfazed. That captures the not fearful part.
I like that. Intrepid.
Yeah.
Clever. Okay, this is where it gets really good. Let's see this word in action. Let's talk about some of the incredible people who really lived up to that definition.
Exactly. And what's cool is how varied the situations are. Let's start with Nellie Bly. Her real name was Elizabeth Cochran. She was this trailblazing journalist in America. And when Jules Verne wrote Around the World in 80 Days, she basically said, I can beat that. Beat the fictional Phileas Fogg for real.
Wow. Just like that. What did people think?
Well, her editor at the New York World basically laughed.
Yeah.
Said a woman couldn't possibly travel light enough or handle it alone. She proved him completely wrong. She took off with just the clothes on her back and one small bag.
Just picked up and went. That takes some serious guts, especially back then.
Absolutely. It was 1889, November 14th, she sailed from New York. Solo journey. She used steamships, trains. She even met Jules Verne himself in Paris, which is pretty cool. Sailed across the Pacific, and when she got back to the U.S., her newspaper owner, Joseph Pulitzer, was so invested he actually commissioned a private train.
A private train, just for her.
Yep, the Nellie Bly Special. To race her across the country, she made it back in 72 days, 6 hours, and 11 minutes. Beat Fogg's fictional record by over a week. Her journey wasn't just about speed. It smashed barriers for women in journalism, in travel. Everywhere.
72 days. That's incredible. It shows that intrepidity isn't just physical danger, but tackling expectations too. Okay, speaking of extreme endurance against insane odds, Sir Ernest Shackleton, his name always comes up.
Oh, absolutely. Shackleton in the Antarctic. Just legendary determination. And he wasn't even fully healthy. He had a heart condition. His most famous story is the Endurance Expedition in 1914. The ship got stuck in the ice, totally trapped. After 10 months, the ice crushed it. It sank.
Oh my God, so they were stranded on the ice.
Stranded on floating ice in the Antarctic. Can you imagine? Shackleton's leadership was just phenomenal, kept morale up. Eventually, they had to take to small lifeboats. From Elephant Island, which was already remote, he and 5 others sailed one tiny boat 800 miles across the roughest ocean on Earth.
800 miles in a lifeboat. How long did that take?
16 days. 16 brutal days to reach South Georgia Island to get help for the rest of the crew left behind.
And did they make it? Did he save them?
That's the most incredible part. Every single man from the Endurance survived. Not one died. It's just this amazing testament to his leadership, his calm, his intrepid spirit when everything went wrong. It's such a contrast to someone like Robert Falcon Scott's South Pole attempt, which was tragic, partly due to different leadership choices in those extreme conditions. For Shackleton, saving his men became the mission.
Wow. Saving everyone became the true achievement. That really redefines success, doesn't it?
Okay, let's switch from the South Pole to the North Pole and talk about someone who broke barriers there. Louise Arner Boyd. Yes, Louise Arner Boyd. She was fascinating. A wealthy American, but she really carved her own path as an explorer. She ended up being the first woman to fly over the North Pole. That was in 1955, and she was the first female council member for the American Geographic Society. Her Arctic obsessions started almost by accident. She got really interested in Greenland. Then in 1928, the famous explorer Roald Amundsen disappeared. She actually paid for a ship, the Hobby, to go search for him.
So she funded her own search mission.
Exactly. She didn't find Amundsen, sadly, but being out there in the Arctic ice, that's where she found her calling. She went back many times after that, took hundreds of photos, charted areas no one had mapped, recorded species, real scientific contributions. She had this quote, something like, "The charm of the Arctic, its aloofness, gives its own reward." A fjord in Greenland is even named after her.
That's quite a legacy, finding your purpose in the search for someone else. Okay, let's jump way forward now. A modern example, someone maybe more familiar from that documentary, Alex Honnold. This feels like peak intrepidity.
Ugh. Alex Honnold in El Capitan. Yeah, it's something else entirely. We're talking about free soloing climbing with no ropes, no safety gear at all, just him and the rock.
Yeah.
He climbed El Capitan, this massive 3,000-foot sheer granite cliff in Yosemite in under 4 hours in 2017.
Just no ropes. The slightest mistake.
And it's over. Instant death. The documentary Free Solo captured it, and it's just terrifying to watch. Makes your palms sweat.
Wasn't there something about his brain, how he processes fear?
Yes. It's one of those fascinating parts. They actually scanned his brain and found his amygdala, the bit that usually lights up with fear. It just doesn't react the same way as most people's. It's much less active. So maybe his intrepidity is partly physiological. It's not just willpower. It might be how he's wired.
Wow. That adds a whole new layer to it. Nature and nurture, perhaps. And wasn't his mom also a climber?
She is. Jennifer Lennox. She's actually the oldest woman to climb El Capitan. So, yeah, maybe it runs in the family.
That's incredible. Okay, another modern figure, Sarah Outen. Her journey sounds just epic in scale.
Oh, Sarah Outen's trip was immense. London to London via the world. It took her 4.5 years. She kayaked, rode, and cycled 25,000 miles around the Northern Hemisphere.
4.5 years. The challenges must have been unbelievable.
Unbelievable is the word. Tropical storms, blizzards, hurricanes. She dealt with PTSD, pneumonia. She capsized 5 times rowing across oceans. She was the first woman to row solo across the North Pacific. Imagine that. Battling huge storms, sharks, even hallucinations from the isolation and exhaustion.
Just the mental and physical fortitude required. It's hard to even grasp. What drove her?
She put it really well herself. She said it was about the adventure, the challenge, but importantly about the learning. That really sums up a certain kind of intrepidity, doesn't it? Pushing limits not just to achieve something, but to understand yourself and the world better.
That learning aspect is key. We've covered some amazing people. Are there others we should quickly mention just to show the sheer breadth?
Definitely. You've got Serrano Fiennes, Guinness World Records, calls him the world's greatest living explorer. First to both poles, crossed Antarctica and the Arctic Ocean on foot. He even cut off his own frostbitten fingertips once.
Okay, wow. That's dedication.
Right. And then there's Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
He didn't just explore, he helped invent the aqualung, made those incredible underwater films, and became a huge voice for marine conservation. Opened up a whole world for us. So it ranges from extreme physical feats to scientific discovery and advocacy.
That's a great point. It shows how wide-ranging this quality can be. So, okay, we've heard these incredible stories, but what does intrepid mean for the rest of us? You know, people not necessarily climbing mountains or rowing oceans. Where do we see this spirit today?
That's a really important question. It's definitely not just for extreme explorers. Think about travel, for instance. You hear about intrepid travelers, right? People who seek out remote places, maybe challenging journeys, embracing the unknown rather than just sticking to resorts. And you even see it in branding, outdoor gear, survival stuff. Companies use Intrepid to suggest their products are tough, durable, ready for anything.
Right. It signals resilience. What about in, like, work or social situations? Can you be intrepid there?
Oh, absolutely. Think about leaders who push for bold, maybe unpopular new ideas. Sticking to a vision despite resistance, that takes a kind of intrepid spirit. Or journalists covering dangerous conflicts or uncovering corruption, facing threats but doing it anyway. That's certainly intrepid. And activists, people standing up against injustice, challenging the status quo, often at great personal risk. That requires immense courage and fortitude.
Yeah, so it's really become this aspirational quality, hasn't it? Applicable way beyond just physical adventure.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Intrepid captures something fundamental about human courage and endurance, whether that's facing a physical mountain, an intellectual challenge, or a moral fight. It's about that resolute fearlessness in pursuing something important.
What a journey through just one word. It's amazing how much is packed in there. We went from not fearful in Latin to Nellie Bly racing the globe, Shackleton saving his crew, Boyd exploring the Arctic, Honnold defying gravity, out and enduring for years, and now seeing how that same core idea, that resolute spirit, shows up in everyday courage and innovation and standing up for what's right. So, as we wrap up, here's something to think about for yourself. Is there a challenge in your own life, maybe big, maybe small, that could use a little bit of that intrepid spirit? What might change if you faced it with that resolute fearlessness, that fortitude, that endurance we've been talking about today? Something to consider.